Hello there and welcome to some OpenTTD related news. Transport Tycoon has been sold to Atari. Okay, so Transport Tycoon was an absolute pioneering simulation game, a transport simulation game that was released in 1994. It's had various different remakes and releases. Transport Tycoon, then there was Transport Tycoon Deluxe. There was one that did have a world editor. Maybe there was one that didn't have one to begin with. I think so. And over the years, it's had a few releases, including ports to mobile and stuff like that. And it's also been reimagined through the remake of the game, an open source remake, OpenTTD, which many of you know. So, what happened? Well, on November the 1st, Atari announced this, and it might not be when it happened, but this is when they announced it. They announced that they had acquired it, and they said, "We are honoured that Chris, that's the original maker of the game, has entrusted us with Transport Tycoon, and our team is committed to both honouring and advancing his groundbreaking creation." And that was the Atari chairman and CEO that said that. So, OpenTTD is the open source community project remake that's kept Transport Tycoon alive, because you can't really play this on modern operating systems. It either doesn't work or doesn't work very well, in which case I'm actually using footage from OpenTTD in this video rather than the original Transport Tycoon, but it looks extremely similar, and it's interesting. Like, are Atari attempting to do something here with the IP of this game? What are they going to do? Could they do? Because they said honouring. So honouring, I don't know. That doesn't tell me anything really. But advancing? How could you advance this? Well, you could advance it by making a new version, OpenTTD 2, for example. But this game's 30 years old. It was released in 1994. Actually, next week's its anniversary, and on Friday next week we have a live stream to celebrate that. We're going to be doing an OpenTTD viewers game. We've got giveaways and stuff, so if you're interested in that, check out my website and social media and all of that sort of stuff. Come along to the event. It's going to be great fun. Friday night, November 15th, great fun from 8 o'clock UK time. But back to this. So, a game that would be Transport Tycoon 2 would be so far advanced that it would leave this behind. Like, what of the original game would be left? Like, modern games have different mechanics and nice to have features that just weren't in this game. They have more modern interfaces, more modern sound banks, different ways of doing things. We don't have this kind of isometric view on the world very much anymore. I mean, could you even make something that is true to the original game modern? I mean, the closest thing I can think of is something like Transport Fever 2. It's very similar in its features and the way that the game plays, but it's a completely different game in the way that it's a completely different 3D render and so forth. I've actually got a video about the differences between OpenTTD and Transport Fever 2 coming up, so get subscribed if you want to see that. So, how will it affect the OpenTTD project? Because the OpenTTD project is an unofficial thing not related to Transport Tycoon, right? So even though it's a remake, like, there's no license or anything, I don't think it will. So OpenTTD has its own set of graphics, its own set of sound, and it's separate. Okay. Now, there's some arguments about, because the game was a remake of this game, like how much, and I'm not going to go into that legal stuff, but it has its own graphics and stuff. You don't need the original game to play it. It's completely separate as far as I'm concerned. And because it's completely separate to Transport Tycoon, I don't think Atari acquiring the license of Transport Tycoon will affect OpenTTD at all. Now, OpenTTD is another reason why I don't think this game's remake would be very good. Because if you try to remake this game and stay anything true to the original game, you're not going to have something which is really, really advanced or really well polished. You'll be brought backwards and down trying to stay faithful, or at least hint at what the original game was like. So OpenTTD has been refined and built and changed and improved over so many years. Even not long ago, they brought out version 14 with so many updates and changes. I did a video about that, and it was just fantastic to see all of these refinements come through the game. OpenTTD is extremely refined. So I don't think it's going to affect OpenTTD. I don't think it's going to be related to OpenTTD. I think OpenTTD will and is always be its own thing. If Atari do something with Transport Tycoon, I think instead of making a brand new one like Transport Tycoon 2 or something like that, like I just talked about, the more likely thing is that they're going to fix it to work on modern operating systems and re-release it as some sort of anniversary thing or something like that. Maybe even bundle it in with some of the other retro games that they've been buying up recently. So they've been buying other retro games as well. So maybe they're going to make a package and say, hey, would you like all of these old retro games? I don't know. Interestingly enough, we don't actually know when the IP was acquired. We know when it was announced. It was announced on November the 1st. But they may have had the rights for a little while, in which case they might have already been fixing and developing or something. But if not, if they actually acquired the rights around the time that they announced it, then there's been no time for them to develop, fix, change, test, QA, package and release anything in time for the 30th anniversary. So do I think it's related to the 30th anniversary? Maybe. Maybe they're hoping that the 30th anniversary of the game will shed some more light on the game and maybe they'll get some purchases somehow, somewhere. I'm not sure. I think it's more likely that they're just adding it to their arsenal of so many other games that they're acquiring in case they want to do something with it. Probably not. Or the second most likely thing is some sort of retro collection. So, how would I feel about a new version of Transport Tycoon personally? Well, as much as I loved this game, it's so far in the past that I don't care anymore. I don't think a Transport Tycoon 2 would be faithful enough to the original game and good. I don't think you could do the same. I don't think you could get a brilliant modern game and a game that is completely faithful to Transport Tycoon in the same game. I think mashing those two things together would be impossible to do. So I'm not particularly interested. Plus we have OpenTTD, the ultimate refinement of Transport Tycoon. Is it positive? I don't know. I think it depends what happens. Atari have a recently okay track record with things, and if they do release it as part of a collection of retro games, that's fine, but I don't need it. Maybe it will bring more people to the game, to the genre, in which case that's a good thing, but I don't see much more good coming out of it. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that one. I don't think I mind Atari having it, and we'll see what they do with it. We'll keep an eye on it. I have a link to Atari's blog post in the video description, as well as a link to OpenTTD on Fantastic Free Games. It is a fantastic free game, and it's part of a ever-growing catalogue on fantasticfreegames.com. So feel free to check that out. Feel free to come along next Friday, and feel free to put all your thoughts, ideas and questions down in the comments section, and you can come over to the Discord where I'm sure the conversation about this will probably continue. Thanks for watching, take care, and for now, goodbye.